Hey, and welcome to the Vergecast for the week of April 22nd, 2013. I'm, of course, Josh Topolsky.
I'm Paul Miller.
Ooh,
It's new.
it's exciting.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
I'm Neil Patel.
Who's that guy?
And you'll notice that we've rotated for some of
We have. I don't know why. I was like, I don't like talking when I have to go
Yeah.
back and forth.
You know,
between...
Josh, that shot, you look really great in that.
Yeah, see, it all worked out.
All those like different grays and angles and...
You're right. I do look great.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You know, this is my
For
first
once.
time
For
in the...
once, for the first time in my life, I
Yeah.
look great.
It's because you stole my handsomeness chair.
Yeah.
I look terrible.
I have to say though, this is look at you.
It's awful.
Look at that the face.
I look way better
The
in that
body.
Oh God, my hair's screwed up.
I like that. I'm liking it.
I
I'm
see,
liking it.
I see what
How do
happened.
I
Anyhow,
look?
we had this idea. I had this idea. Like I wanted to be able to sit across from Paul and Eli.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I was like, and they were like, just sit where Eli sits. And then it turns out that when you switch those seats, it doesn't change the fact that we can't. That we're still. It's like, well, I'm like, oh, now Eli has to do
Yeah.
this. Anyhow, whatever.
That's all right.
This is the Vergecast where we discuss the week in technology, culture, and that's it. Those are the only things.
Yeah.
And just other stuff that doesn't fall into either of those categories.
Whatever we want.
And you know, sometimes we'll just talk about what we ate today, or
Yeah.
you know, who we're dating.
Ooh.
You know, Paul.
Ooh.
Paul.
Mostly Paul talks
And we
about
haven't
who
we
he's
haven't talked
dating.
to Paul in many weeks.
This is my first time in the studio.
I'm like addressing across
Yeah.
you. I'm addressing back there. Yeah, you could get into my line of sight. We haven't talked to Paul for. There you are. Yeah.
Goodbye, Paul.
You're really in my line of sight now. That's really rude.
It's really in front of
Rude.
the camera. There you
Really
go.
rude. Anyhow, we haven't talked to Paul in a while, and he is coming back to the internet. Mark your calendars, mark your iCals, jot it down on your GCals.
Fantastic.
Put it in your Outlook
Are there other calendar
calendar.
apps?
What's
Yeah.
the name of the Microsoft?
Put it in your
calendar?
SCal.
What's the name of the Microsoft calendar?
Outlook?
It is Outlook. There's no.
Yeah.
They don't have another sub name for the Outlook calendar.
No.
Like
I don't think so.
OCal.
Bob Cal?
Can we give it a name? I'm going to call it OCal.
Do they still
Okay.
make Entourage, remember?
I don't know.
They're like, there was like their Mac specific version of Outlook that didn't do any of the Outlook stuff.
Right now, Tom Warren is listening to this.
Yeah, he's
There's
freaking
a single tear rolling down his beautiful British cheek.
Look, I just use S Calendar.
Anyhow,
on
mark your calendars because Paul's coming back to the internet.
On my snout.
What's the date?
the 1st. Wednesday.
May 1st.
May 1st.
Midnight.
May Day.
Midnight between
Is May
So,
1st
like,
Tuesday and
wait,
Wednesday.
at the end
Is
of
May 1st May Day? Does anybody know?
Oh, God.
Oh,
Our lack of
whoa,
knowledge
whoa,
today
whoa,
is...
whoa, whoa.
Hey,
Let me look at this up.
are there? It is May Day.
May 1st, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
I looked at my MCal.
Can we get my shot back on here? I know it doesn't matter for the people who are listening to this podcast. Can we get my single on? Thank you. Oh, you can't even see it. I'm just going to go then. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to get some of this going. How's it make you feel, Internet? Upset? Violated? Anyhow, we've had an exciting week and a lot of news going on, but Paul's coming back to the Internet, and I think we couldn't be more excited about that. Now I want to button this back up. This is a constant.
We couldn't be more excited, but this button is far more distracting.
There's always got to be one little thing that's happening.
I heard on May 2nd
Yeah.
that you were going to unbutton not just that button, but the lower
below
button
it.
too.
I plan to do an unbuttoning till we get down to the navel,
Right.
at which point everybody will become severely nauseous. No, but you're coming back to the internet. Are you excited?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what do you think the first thing you'll do when you have access to the internet will be? Like literally the very first thing. Will you check your email?
no.
Will you check Twitter?
I mean, I've got it kind of planned out, but I don't want to ruin the surprise.
Oh, okay.
I
You
mean,
don't wanna
I've got
tell
like,
me.
you know, people
No,
have
that's
asked me
fine.
that enough now. I've like started formulating a plan, but
Yeah.
like, I think it's going to get improvisational pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a lot of Twitter.
You're kind of an improv expert.
That's right.
You're sort of a guy who thinks on his feet.
Yeah.
You know, you put you in front of a group of people,
Right.
and you never know what's going to happen next. Juggling, body
I like to play a game where
Body-
Paul has to tell me a story using a variety of props.
body shots.
I did some
Body shots.
acting classes in high school where you are like a birthday present. So like it convey that through motion.
Can you give us some of that
Not really.
right now? Is that
No, I
like
didn't
is that
do
like
good.
you're a box? So you do
No, like
I'm in the
like what you're
box,
trying to convey is like
and you're
what it is
unwrapping.
what it is to be a gift.
Oh.
You know?
You know
Yeah.
what? I feel like I know what it's like for you to be a gift
Yeah.
every day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's because I took that
so
class.
is
Only
it-
for me, it's like you're like a tie and a pair of socks.
Yeah.
Like, man, I really wanted a new Nintendo.
For me, you're the diamond ring from Zales that I've been waiting for. From K Jewelers.
Every kiss begins with K.
Every kiss begins with Z. Zales. So it's been a busy week.
It's been a hell of a week.
It's been a hell of a week. Last week was
Look
a
at
hell
this
of a
little
week.
stack on.
We have a lot of phones to talk about.
Every time like some sort of notification hits Neil, I know because like this whole table starts vibrating.
There's
because
actually a
like
crater
I'm in the
forming
middle
underneath.
of a period of great indecision, except for this GS4, which is just here so you can play with it. But I'm in the middle of a period of great indecision.
There should be no indecision.
Well, we can talk about it. We should start, however, with Apple this week because WWDC was announced.
So we had this, we had this tech news has slowed down. We knew that,
and we're about to fire right back up.
and we had this couple of weeks. Obviously, last week was dominated by the Boston bombing news, and you knew that I/O is coming and WWDC. So now we got the WWDC invite. June. What's the date? June 10th.
June 10th.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, it's the 10th. Well, so let's. With the week started, I think this is what the week started with Apple's earnings.
Right? Oh, right. You want to get into that? Okay.
Yeah. So just at a high level, the week started Apple's earnings.
Yeah.
Like hotly anticipated earnings.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors that iPhone demand was low.
Yeah.
That Tim Cook was not going to. We had a joke. That every quarter for Apple was always a record quarter, right? Like,
for 10 years
for like
straight.
10 years. Like, I'm
Literally.
pre-writing the headline Apple post record quarter, and this one was decidedly not.
Right.
And just the top line out of it
They
is
did
that
okay.
they did okay.
They
They
didn't do
made billions of dollars in
Yeah.
profits. But the top line basically.
Sorry, John. Can you turn down my earpiece a little bit? It's just a little bit loud. Go ahead.
The top line is basically iPhone demand has slowed down. They only went up 6.5%. They only sold 6.5% more iPhones than last time, which is like a problem for them.
Yeah.
And they basically have been
Not flat, but flattening.
A year ago, iPhone demand was up 88%.
Right.
Right. And the iPad curve is still up this year at 65, or this quarter at 65%.
Right.
So this like massive staggering growth that everyone's used to from Apple has like definitely slowed for the iPhone. There's obviously a lot of phone competition going on. There's a lot of questions. And then so the call then, an analyst call, Tim Cook opened it by saying, we know everyone's very frustrated with our share price. We know investors are unhappy. We're unhappy too.
Yeah.
We've got great new products coming in the fall and throughout 2014.
Next year.
Which
He said something about categories too.
and then he said twice, and this is actually pretty funny. At the very top of the call, he said, we're very excited about our range of products we have now and exciting new product categories for us to go into.
Yeah.
Which could be anything.
Right.
And then there's
Watches.
a Q&A period, and Gene Munster has been fomenting for an Apple TV for like
did he say
half a
it?
decade.
Did he say
He's like, you could hear like the quiver in his voice. He was like, Tim, did you say exciting new product categories? And Cook was like, yes, Gene. That's all I'm saying. And Gene was like, and then they just moved on.
And then Tim Cook threw like a Vizio TV at Gene Munster.
Well, so the whole thing here is that basically, and I've been trying to write something about this, but it's hard to convey such a weird feeling. But it was basically Tim Cook is making promises that Apple will find another category of explosive growth and that good times will come again.
Right.
And he's saying, I know you're frustrated, but don't worry. But then they're delaying. I mean, they very explicitly asked him, do you mean there are no new products coming out until the fall? And he was like, well, I don't want to get into timelines, but we're very excited about our product launches in the fall.
Yeah.
Which is, I think for Apple, very strange. And then the next day, they put out the WWDC invite. They explicitly say, which is rare, we're excited to have developers see our new versions of iOS and OS X.
Yeah.
And then the invite has this wild design.
So I thought this was the thing that was notable. Yeah. And people say they're like, oh, their designs are always crazy on the invites. The design of the WWDC invite was typographically very unique, and I think visually, meant to convey a playful cleanliness.
Yeah.
And I think that, and there's sort of the graphic on it is sort of app shaped. And I don't want to read too much into it because we don't really know if it means anything or not. I thought the typography, typically Apple will do like a color splash or something, and then it'll be Apple typography that you're very familiar with. I thought the typography, and even the fact that they were using Roman numerals as opposed to a date, you know, like a
This is out of
date.
Apple's brand.
Yeah,
I mean, it's within it in the sense that it's like very stunning.
Yeah, this to me looks like something from a fashion house,
Right.
or something from like a young brand,
And we've been
like H&M.
And we've been hearing all the stuff about Ive is taking over the software interface
and
side.
saying-
and then
he's doing flat
and then
design.
He's flattening the design in some way.
getting rid of all the junk.
And so maybe it doesn't mean anything, but maybe it does. And
Maybe I've fired up InDesign and put together a little
he was
invite.
like, listen, I'm going to spend the weekend.
Yeah, Johnny Ive at home with Photoshop.
Yeah.
He's got the InDesign trial.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, I have a 30-day trial, and by gum, I'm going to use it.
Right.
And he said, by gum, I'm sure.
Yeah, by gum.
But I do think it could be indicative of a change. I think that we know that they are at a point now, it's tough to argue that whether you think they need it or not, the public perception is, and the user, I think many users, at least in a certain bucket of users, there's a perception, a vocal bucket, a bucket that is like the kind of the forward-thinking group. There's a perception they need to show something that looks really fresh.
I wish this wasn't so. And I don't know what it's like to be a public company. I've never been a public company, but I wish
Paul Miller is not traded.
I've been buying stock in you for years.
I've been thinking about IPO, but I just don't know if I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
But this is so investor centered, and like they're so concerned about their stock price. And I know it like hurts when you lose half of your, value, but I think they need to be telling users that there's something cool to come,
right?
And give users something to anticipate, and regular people something to anticipate, especially as people are getting more clued into these, upgrade cycles, and as Samsung keeps on having these messages. I mean, I don't even know, like, is the iPhone slowing growth? Is that part of like a market saturation for smartphones?
Yeah, I think that's a big problem in general for the market. Right? I think people have smartphones, and I think what was really interesting about the call was Cook kept on going back to the iPhone 4. He brought up the iPhone 4 more times in that call than the iPhone 5 or the new iPad, and he kept on saying, in China and other places, we've made the iPhone 4 cheaper to build so we can sell it at a lower cost.
Right.
We can maintain our margin, and we can get into the low end of the market, which everyone's reading that as like a sign that Apple will actually build this cheaper plastic iPhone. People have been
it was
talking
weird
about.
that
he
was
brought it up several times.
I think the long and short of it, but there's been all this chatter. You see the finance blogs and starting to say, oh, there's rumors that people want to oust Cook, and I think that Apple's problems are not as severe as they're painted sometimes in the press. But I do think they kind of have painted themselves into this corner. I mean, and you're bound to do it as an innovator, where they paint, and particularly the way Apple has innovated in the way they talk about their innovations and sell their innovations. When we interviewed Andy Rubin, we were doing when we did the piece on the Nexus 4 and the Nexus 10 and sort of what was going on with their program, he said something to me about how it was a hits business.
Yeah.
That software design and sort of creating those products was a hits business, and it was all about what's the next thing you can wow consumers with, like what's the next awesome feature they didn't see coming. And you see with Samsung, and I know we're going to get to the S4, they added all of these like. And HTC did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like blink feed and boom sound and all this stuff. You're supposed to be like, whoa, the crazy innovative feature. But Apple, to their credit, did real innovation, big innovation that changed industries. And they painted them, it's not by their fault, but they painted themselves into this corner now where the consumer is so expectant of innovation.
Right.
And so expectant that at these events they will announce this game-changing thing, and the market reacts to that, and the market is now saying, well, you created these incredible products. There was a great something in the Washington Post, that great analysis of this, but the gist is, you created these great products. You created enormous consumer demand. Competitors had to spend years playing catch up to you.
Right.
The whole time you were just making money, hand over fist. And now you've got this situation where you haven't done that in a while. Well, competitors have caught up in almost all respects.
What's interesting is that 2007, Jobs is on stage introducing the first iPhone. He says, we think we're 5 years ahead of everybody. Right. It's 6 years later.
Yeah.
Are you still 5 years ahead of everybody? And I think the answer is very conclusively no.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
it depends what they come out with in the fall and in 2014. They could have some products that might take like 1 or 2 years for people to catch up with.
They could have a product that we don't know about that could totally revolutionize the industry.
No,
I think that's where they have to be.
And that's what we've always expected from Apple. But at the same time, like I feel like they've been getting trashed for a while that they can't compete with Android, which is overtaking the market, especially outside the U.S.
But in terms of profitability,
right? Like, but now they're like trashing on Apple for these low profit margins because the iPad Mini has less profit margins and these cheap iPhones have less profit margins.
And by the way, and the iPad Mini could be seen, I think, rightfully so and clearly as a response to the demand for smaller tablets that did not come from
which Apple doesn't have to do very often.
Which Apple does not typically have to do. And I think we were all a little bit surprised that you did see Apple sort of respond to the market. And the same with the longer iPhone, the taller iPhone. I mean, they basically were like, we made a larger screened iPhone without sacrificing what they were doing on the iPhone.
And Cook got asked a very direct question on this call. What do you think of the competition? The 5-inch screen size has landed. It's here. And his answer was it's an answer. It's like he pulled it out of the Steve Jobs playbook, but unless you're Steve Jobs, you don't get to deliver this answer.
Can't sell
He's like, there's a lot of trade-offs there. We think some people want the size, that's great for them, but we think other things like white balance and color accuracy and reflectivity, that's what and it's like, no, they're not, dude. Yeah. They're looking at the giant screen on the subway, and they're thinking, man, I wish my phone had a bigger screen.
And I think that probably is an indication that they'll do something larger at some point. I mean, it's one of those. I think Apple has it as part of their playbook that they're going to say, we don't do that, and then they go and do it because that's what Jobs did so well. And I think maybe
I think Steve Jobs does that, and he says, these larger screens, you gotta have a crazy hand to hold that. No normal, like he sells it. Yeah. And Cook just like read off this list of like other qualities that screens have. Yeah. And it's like, dude, HTC is making an LCD screen with a higher pixel density than you. That's very, very good and is bigger.
But I think
those exist.
I want to say something else.
You can cut the screens to be bigger. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'd like to say something else about what Apple's been doing and talk about the state of the industry right now. And one of the things that I feel like, a few years ago, particularly at the start of when the iPhone launched, and when we really started to see the app ecosystem come together, and you saw this huge this interplay of all of these parts of their ecosystem, music and video and apps, and it's all like the hub it's so obvious what the hub is and how it all gets pulled together in your different devices. And I feel like as competitors have caught up to that, I think in some ways Google has done a better job in terms of management of applications. They now all offer, Microsoft offers music and video. Google offers music and video. There are more competitors in the music space than ever with things like RDO and Spotify. Right. And people's habits are changing where they're using more streaming services.
I think Amazon's up to 30%.
Right. And Amazon has their app store and their devices and their music store and video store and Prime and Netflix and HBO.
That's what I'm saying. So they're 5 years ahead of everybody.
Right. Well, but
everybody's like they're there.
But what's happened in that intervening 5 years is not only have people caught up, but they've, and I won't say leapfrog, but they've altered some of the ways that we communicated, the way that we think about that stuff. And so what's really interesting now is you look at the landscape of what is special about Apple's offering, right? Because I think you could argue that their cloud services have yet to be. They have yet to prove.
You don't have to argue.
I think they have yet to prove to their end user or to their developers that their cloud services are somehow superior to what the competition is offering. And I mean Microsoft and Google in this aspect. But then it's also the App Store is there, the music store is there. So it's like in that sense, the services side, the ecosystem side, still is excellent. Well, the cloud services
but it's not like fully modern.
Yeah, it's not fully modern, and you have to think about Apple's aptitude in that. The service on the services side. And I think that it has been slower to develop and worse in some ways than the competition. And so they have to not only have this hit of a product, but then they have to also keep explaining and showing how their ecosystem and how it works is superior. And it's tougher to do that now than it's ever been before.
Because it's not superior. I think there's the illustration, my brother, it's not much of an illustration. The way the military thinks about like competitive advantage is you can be competitive with a country, like if you are, if they're one step below you in technology, if they have a lot of planes and your planes are higher tech, but you have fewer of them, you're still competitive.
Right.
That's still a war.
Because you might be able to outrun them, but they can outgun you. Right. So you sort of like end up even.
If you're 2 steps above in technology, you just destroy them.
Right.
And I think what's happened now is Apple is about 1 step behind in technology, but they still have like the mass force.
Yeah.
and I also think that kind of might be
They've got the numbers, but not the
right,
yeah.
and so they're just slowly fading. But if other people take another step forward, Apple's really screwed. Right. And the thing is,
Well,
Apple Apple still has theoretically all of the talent.
No, I actually really disagree with you.
A lot of the talent that has put them where they are.
Yeah.
Right.
And
at the top.
They have senior
Right.
the senior management is there.
Right. But I keep hearing from like Valley companies, like basically the line that I keep hearing is it's a little too easy to recruit from Apple right now.
Really? Well, because what I assume is that those people that were, let's say the people that are still there that were capable of creating what we've seen.
Yeah.
They might not be able to create what's next. And what I hope is that they have another good 5 or 10 years in them of cool new products that I'm going to be excited about maybe as an Apple fanboy.
Yeah.
But they might not be as wildly successful as other stuff we've seen.
And I think that to that point, like you can't, and we've been over this before, and I don't think we need to belabor the point, but you can't analyze who Apple is right now and what they do without saying, it cannot be overstated how important Steve Jobs was to what happened to that company in the last 10 years, in the last for up until his death. When he came back, the change that was affected that went all the way through the iPod and iTunes and into like refining the Mac line and refining the MacBooks and doing the iPhone and the iPad and the App Store. I mean, that stuff is all. It was led by somebody, and it was clearly led by somebody. And I think we know it was clearly led by Steve Jobs. And you can have the best people in the world, but you really need the leadership.
In
you really
ways,
need the leadership. Think about it.
And I might just put, you need a second in command.
Maybe.
Who's the true leader.
Tim Cook.
Those ideas
people are saying he might be out.
What a subtle burn that was.
People are saying he might be on his way out. But my point is you can't discount that.
Sure.
And you might have the best people in the world, and you might hope that they have the next thing. But it's going to be really. I think it's really, really going to have to come down to. An incredible mixture of luck and skill to duplicate the kinds of things that happen under Jobs.
Also, those ideas were kind of pre-internet ideas.
Yeah.
Well, no, not the iTunes Store, not the App Store.
Well,
not iTunes.
But think about iTunes was to rip CDs and then sync them to your iPhone. For a long time, your iPhone was still syncing back and forth with iTunes, kind of like your iPod did in version 1.
I know because the iPhone came out with Edge. Of course it did.
Right. No,
which actually speaks to Paul's point when you think about it. That it was
it came out without apps
and you did sync over a cable and but it is true that as an internet company they seem much less agile.
No, I completely agree.
Much less agile.
But I'm saying that stuff.
Right.
Like they believed in internet delivery before the internet was ready for it.
No, that's true.
They knew it was coming. They built the infrastructure. They were first to that stuff.
Yeah,
without question.
This week I've been doing. We've had this partnership with Rebecca Film Festival, as you guys know, and I did a bunch of panels this week. And one of the things that came up in one of the panels was their avoidance of Blu-ray as a kind of part of their strategy to embrace digital downloads and to embrace streaming.
Have Blu-ray?
There's no Blu-ray.
In the past year, Apple didn't go backwards and add Blu-ray drives.
Since you've been off the internet, Apple still doesn't.
I have to say, I use Redbox.
Yeah,
and I can get a Blu-ray for like $1.30.
Oh, does Redbox do Blu-rays?
Yeah. And a lot more now. And Blu-ray is still higher quality than in almost all the online streams you can get. And it's like $3 cheaper.
Yeah. By the way, on one of these panels, we talked a lot about the technology. We talked a lot about 4K. We actually had a guy from Sony who runs their kind of systems. The guys who build the 4K cameras and the TVs that try to put it in the market. And they were talking about delivery and what they were saying and some other people on the panel is that the delivery, yes, that's right. Blu-ray still looks better. There's no, the artifacting isn't there. The kind of like terrible quality you can get over streaming.
Yeah.
But they're saying the apparently amongst like film and video people, though common wisdom now is, or conventional wisdom now is that compression is the answer. It's not that better compression, H.265.
Yeah.
And
HVAC, I think, is the other one.
Yeah.
Maybe that might be H.265.
That we're going to have these massive amounts of data, the massive amounts of data, but it's all about the compression
Right.
on
and
both sides.
Netflix had
that's going to solve that. That's gonna solve that
Netflix
problem.
put out a
switch
white
to that.
paper yesterday that was like, and we hit it. And basically the line there was, we're going to stream 4K decades ahead of the broadcasters
Well,
sending
that's
it out
great.
the air.
I will switch to that the instant it's available.
It's a compression, but you're right.
For now,
about-
Redbox has been a superior
No, I mean,
experience
watch
to what
it-
I
watch
had
it.
like on Zune streaming.
I mean, watch a dark, like a literally dark film like Blade Runner over streaming 1080 streaming, even on your
And the
in your
white's,
best
like, blue.
Kill me.
yeah, and in your
Just
best
kill
case
me.
scenario versus the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
it's like not even in the same. I mean, I have to say I never watch Blu-rays, and I've bought a few movies recently
Yeah.
that I really love that I want to watch, and when you put them on, you're kind of like, wait, my TV can look like this?
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
so
incredible.
used to streaming,
Like
on Hulu. where
Chris
you've got-
Welch on our team. It's like a Criterion Blu-ray guy. Like that's
Yeah.
what he watches.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're right. You buy a TV. It's like, maybe it's expensive, maybe it's not, and then you like put the worst looking stuff on
it's
it.
like,
And
yeah, it's good enough
not just
you
the
want to watch it.
artifacting; it's got better color depth.
Right. No, the whole thing.
It's-
And by the way, I think that I have to say I never thought I would become an advocate for Blu-ray
For physical
But I
media.
was talking to a friend the other day, and he was saying that somebody said to him, you should buy the movies that you love on Blu-ray because it's probably the last physical medium we'll have of these, and it's like the highest quality they'll be as a physical.
I think Blu-rays are going to end up a lot like vinyl.
Yeah.
I think eventually CDs will die out because you'll get the bits.
Well, but
it'll
once
be
you go,
higher
up
quality.
from 1080, it'll be completely obsolete.
Right.
Once you go to 4K.
I think we talked at CS a ton about 4K Blu-rays. I think that technology will continue to expand, but I think that they will end up as kind of the niche
4K.
the niche product.
I mean, they have the 4K Blu-rays that are just like
They're remastered.
remastered, or downscaled and then upscaled.
Yeah, they can, but there's another like we did talk about this a bunch at CS.
Yeah.
There's another level to the Blu-ray standard where it can hold more data and they can do more stuff.
But still, yes,
Yeah.
but that's still being. That's still
they're arguing it out.
They shoot in 4K, they downscale it. And
No,
then
that's with the current Blu-ray.
Right.
So they're remastering so that the upscaling is
saying
better.
okay.
But they're going to make a native Blu-ray.
And they may have
native
that's fine. They may have a
4K
new
Blu-ray.
format.
God, what a
the point
clunky
is
phrase.
But the point is,
Native
if you
4K Blu-ray.
if you want to get
I
the
hate
best
you.
version of Blade Runner you can get right now, it's
on
on a
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray, and it's not anywhere else.
So I don't know how we got.
I just watched the final cut of Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And then the
Without
other
the-
day,
without the
I watched the
narration.
U.S. theatrical version,
That's is that from what 92 or from the original 82?
the original '82.
Yeah.
And
Because they re-released it 92, the director's cut.
I'd mostly seen the '92 director's
which
cut.
does not
Doesn't
have
the
narration. Yeah.
Neither does the final cut.
I'm one of the few that prefers the narration.
Yeah.
I'm a sick person. I know that.
It was interesting. It was a very different film with the narration.
I bought the Blu-ray of the most recent.
Do you
whatever
like the happy ending?
So in the original version, it ends with. Spoiler alert, guys.
Right.
Blade
I
Runner?
don't know if I have to say this, but spoiler
Well,
alert.
let's
We're about to ruin Blade Runner for you. If you haven't seen it, and you're listening to this,
Josh, here's
you
two
blew it.
endings that don't really spoil it.
Yeah.
There's driving in the desert,
Yeah.
and there's getting into
Not in
an
the
elevator.
desert. Not in the desert.
Or
forest.
Driving in the forest
Yeah.
and getting into an elevator.
The getting into the elevator is considered the not happy ending.
Right.
That's the too bad she won't live echoes. That's not a spoiler. He says it in the movie.
Right.
That's
no,
the-
but
yeah.
you spoiled the ending.
Whatever. If you haven't seen Blade Runner, why are you listening to this?
What are you doing?
Man, I came up with such a good formula
I
for
know,
not
you really
spoiling
did.
it.
I- I think both
Ridley
endings
Scott
are-
prefers the sad ending.
Yeah, of course.
Now, do you think?
All directors prefer
I-
the sad
I-
Do you
ending.
think he's a replicant?
I don't think that the other.
Because the final cut has
Well, Ridley
his,
Scott has said that he is
Right.
because
Ridley
the
Scott has
unicorn
the
dream
unicorn
and the
dream.
reflective eye.
and then the unicorn origami. At the
Yeah,
end.
right. Which is like saying.
So you
that-
think he's a
that Edward James
replicant?
Olmos's character, whose name now escapes me for some reason, knows that he's a replicant.
Right.
Well, have you read the book?
I just actually read the book, which is totally different.
Totally different and crazy, right?
Right.
Like there's
And
a part.
it
There's a
has
part
a-
halfway through that book that it completely flips the
It,
script.
it
on
has
you.
like a, I would almost say,
that book is so
directly contrary moral to it.
Yes.
It's great.
I will
Correct.
say sitting in this chair is a lot like being on Crossfire.
Yeah,
I know.
Right,
I
this
know
is
why
what
you
I'm
don't
talking
like
about.
this.
Yeah, because you're going like this the whole time.
What's happening?
It's terrible. Anyhow, but I
We
think
got, by the way, way off of Apple.
we can
Remember
agree
we were
that
talking
Blade
about Apple
Runner is a
couple minutes
great
ago?
film.
Right.
There's no debate there.
So let's move on.
Okay, let's move on, 'cause we have to- we
Here's
don't have
here's the
all
thing.
day.
Here's Apple's big problem. I'm holding it in my hand.
Oh, big
big.
problem.
It's a big problem.
Apple's big.
The next big thing is
Hey,
here again.
Apple's next big problem.
So this is the Galaxy S4. I'm gonna just hand this to Paul because I played with it a lot. and
so light.
David reviewed it this week. A lot of other people reviewed it this week.
Everything about that
And
upsets me.
David's final word.
Why does it? Why does it have to do this thing where it's
Because
like,
it's inspired by nature, dude.
Inspired by art
Don't worry
and
about
nature.
it too much.
Don't you love dimensionality?
David's line was, "This is a great phone. Millions of people will buy it. Whatever. The HTC One is better." And that was a line.
He didn't say whatever.
He didn't say whatever.
whatevs?
I will say that Walt Mossberg basically said whatever the HTC One is better.
I was
the
surprised.
fourth
Mossberg
paragraph
Mossberg
of
was like,
Mossberg's review.
I urge you to look at the HTC
Yeah.
One.
In the
It was like
fourth
a public
paragraph.
service announcement.
Yeah. But I have to say, listen, this phone is it's a very
Wait, what's
fine.
this thing? Oh, what? There's a thing on the side.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
oh, just in case
it's
you
a
wanted
dock.
more crap.
Just in case you needed
Also,
something.
you can hover your finger over it and flip. You can't look at that. In a couple days, I'll show you some cool stuff.
I'm gonna hover my finger over it.
I think this is
Not
a
gonna do
fine, high-end Android device that does everything you could possibly want an Android phone to do. If you have to buy the Galaxy S4, I don't think there's any problem. It's not
Yeah.
going to be. It's not going to be a horrible experience.
Nobody's
for
gonna
you.
judge you.
No one will
I'll
judge
judge
you.
you.
In fact, many people will buy this phone because Samsung has just staked out.
I think the gallery app just crashed. By the way.
Oh, it did. No, that thing crashes all the time.
It's got problems, but it's not like a piece of junk. Okay, but let's just say this. By comparison, I've been using the
Yep.
HTC One, and I have been, I have struggled and had incredible hardship with trying to find an Android phone
Yeah.
that is on AT&T, that has LTE, that I'm not basically disgusted by.
Right.
And I'm very sensitive about skinning. I've wanted a stock phone, and
You're running Apex though, right?
I have Apex launcher on here
Yeah.
because I just don't like their launcher.
Right.
But I think basically everything else. There's a few annoyances on here. I think this is the finest phone, maybe the finest smartphone I've ever used.
No, I think a lot of people agree.
And
with you.
and I feel that
so
way.
Here's what's
the
interesting.
The camera is. It may not be. I will say this. I think the iPhone 5. The camera takes better looking
Yep.
photos, but I think this takes excellent photos. It works very well in low light.
Yeah.
And I've been able to capture some things that on other phones it's a complete no-go.
Yeah.
And even on the iPhone in some cases.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly fast. The screen is unbelievable. And I have
So this
for the
is a
first
this
time
is a
maybe
point
ever-
of controversy,
For the
the
first time
screen
maybe
stuff.
ever, except for the Droid. I have a Droid Razr Max HD.
God,
which,
that
by the
phone
way,
is so ugly in
a Droid
comparison.
Razr Max HD, which I have let die and have
Yeah.
not turned on for the last week.
That's how
since
you
I've
know.
been using the one because it's just like I don't need it.
So I have two responses to this.
Yes.
One, we should talk about the screen. I will say that my new metric for how good a phone is whether or not I let it die. And the phone that I am using most, that I remember to charge the most, is the
gonna be a little
first.
hard.
So I'm like, I have a one.
You're using the first.
I have a one. I
Yeah.
have an iPhone. I have a first. And the first
know
is the
what that is.
phone.
I don't like that.
What are you looking at?
He's just did a picture. Can we show that to
That's
the?
not good.
Can you show that
You're
to
using
give
the
me that.
dual
Let's
dual
give me
camera.
that. Let me just.
You can put yourself in a heart.
Can you guys see this?
I mean,
I was trying to just take a picture of Josh, but it put this heart of me in there. So
that's
I
it.
just
No,
had to go with
David
it.
was testing dual camera.
That's,
had to
that's
roll
Paul
with
in
it.
a heart.
So
look
here's the
terrifying.
thing. So
Oh,
I
sorry.
agree with you that I think overall the one, as far as like flagship phones go, is the best.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think it's really interesting that I think HTC has made two of the best phones.
Yeah.
And I think the first is the other
The
one.
first, I would say something about. I'll say this about the first. I've become very accustomed to a larger screen, and at this
Right.
point, the first seems smaller to me.
The first is
But-
basically in Dave and I talked about this a bunch on Top Shelf, which is next. This is basically an Android iPhone. That's what it's.
No,
I think
it
it's.
abs- no, it
I think
absolutely
it's
is.
designed to look like an
but here's
iPhone.
what
I
I'll
think it's
say. If
designed
the
to feel like an iPhone.
If the first had a great camera, which it doesn't,
it absolutely has a miserable.
if it had a
death
great, if
camera.
it had a great camera, I would very seriously consider
Yeah.
that as my main phone.
Do you think nobody,
Yeah.
everybody just thinks there's like zero money in making a small high end
Yes.
Android phone?
I think they. I
I think
they
that-
think.
yeah, the
I
line
think they
generally
think
is
Are they
hard
right?
spoken.
I think. Well, I think people want larger devices. I'll tell you.
Where's the lock button?
I saw. I saw somebody, a director who was on one of my panels, who had a note.
Yeah.
And
the note's really popular.
And I gotta say, I was like, "This is, here's a cool director guy,
He's jotting down-
Hollywood
Wait,
director."
nobody
dude.
uses the pen, as far as I can tell.
No, I don't think so. I think maybe sometimes. Anyhow,
I
cool
use-
Hollywood director type, smart guy, stylish guy.
Yeah.
using a
Gigantic
note.
phone.
Using a note, and yeah, he wasn't a big guy. He wasn't like
Yeah.
a giant or anything. I just think it's interesting how often I see that now.
Yeah.
I saw
know?
somebody.
No, I
with
think
the-
people are really into big screen, and
But
that's
anyhow,
fine.
so to get back to your point.
So my point about the
S4
display.
Yeah.
This is the point I wanted to make.
The display is
so
really beautiful on
David
that.
gave
Yeah.
the display a 10, which
Yeah.
had some controversy because
I
it
think-
is like an AMOLED display.
I think it should have been
in
a
its
9,
default
personally.
in its default setting. The colors are really inaccurate. Like they're super bright red. It's like it's hyper saturated Samsung. It's pentile. everything about this display is designed for me to hate it. And I think our readers know that I am very against pentile displays. I'm not a big fan of AMOLED. But if you put that thing in movie mode, where it, like the colors get more accurate, and you put it side by side.
Is that what it's in right now?
I don't remember. It might still be. And you put it side by side with the one, it is basically impossible to tell them apart. And there's like some slight difference in color. I mean, you have to be like a color scientist to know the difference.
In my opinion, you shouldn't have to put something in a mode.
And that's what David said to me. He's like, no one's ever going to find this menu.
But
that's just
but
just
if it
calibration.
doesn't bother them, it doesn't bother them.
Yeah, and I think people really like that screen. And
Some people use
I'm the last person to
TVs
say a pentile AMOLED screen is really good, but that scr's really good.
Man, I have to say, Samsung's
software is terrible.
Can we talk about
holding this in your hand is awful.
Can we? I'm not even going to get into that. Can we just talk for a second about Samsung software design? It sucks. Your designers are terrible. I'm sorry. I like, your phone hardware is fine. It's okay. Whatever. It's very capable. But just hire some designers who have eyeballs. This is, I think, a first step. I'm sorry. I think this phone is a solid phone, but why am I saying I'm sorry? I'm not sorry. Your designers are doing a terrible job of making good-looking software.
It's really...
And we deserve better. People deserve better. Look at what HTC is doing. They stepped up their game. They had pretty bad looking software. Sorry, Drew Bamford.
Yeah.
Your stuff looked kind of lame in Sense 4 and before that. Although there was a point where I was like, Sense is pretty good looking. I think it like Sense.
HTC's always been trying just a little too hard with its design.
They pulled it back considerably, and it is.
It's flat now. Of all the things, it used to be hyper-skeuomorphic. Now it's really flat.
Right. It's flat. It's not like abstract.
Right.
It just looks okay. It just looks nice. It's not offensive. It's well designed. And the difference between, the 1 and the S4 in terms of design is kind of monumental.
Right.
I don't think most consumers are probably going to care, but particular
what's
people
funny
like
is that what they have,
what
Samsung has its engineers doing is building this laundry list of features that,
Yeah.
like literally as a con in the review, David listed additional features can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want a phone that when you're watching a video and you just look up for a second, pauses the video, and then you look again and rebuffers the video?
Blink zone.
Like, you don't need that. Do you want a phone that like you can wave your hand over? Like, maybe I do.
Feed blink.
But if you don't use it the right way, when you put your hand back over it, it like goes back a page too.
Yeah, who's gonna figure out how to use that?
It only works in certain apps. Is it working?
No.
It only works like 75% of the time. You have to like learn how to use it.
So the split
I will say the one
thing,
that is way better now.
Is it working better? That's
way better now. That's fine. I will say that the hover stuff is like you could see the potential for it to be useful. So if you have Flipboard open and you hover your finger over a story, it expands the story onto that page, and then you can like click it, and then it opens. So that's like interesting. But
why wouldn't you just tap it?
Because maybe you don't want to open. I don't know.
So there's like a little preview.
I'm trying to find the silver lining to the dark storm cloud that is TouchWiz.
Do I have to turn it on?
No, it should just be on. Maybe you have to turn it on.
I mean, even the TouchWiz name is still
like all you need.
bad.
Look, all you need to know about Samsung software and their inability to focus and inability to choose is that you have the option when you pull down the notification shade to put up to 18 different toggles in there to turn on and off different features.
It's ridiculous.
And it's like, why? Like, there's an easy mode on this phone. You can push a button and have it go into easy mode so that like normals can use it.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. I just think, look, here's the deal. If this had really beautifully designed software with all those extra features, if I looked at the UI and I was like, whoa, this is really well thought out and well designed.
And then also the hardware was nicer.
I mean, the hardware to me is kind of. I mean, I will say that the one is.
This hardware is gross.
The one is so much nicer from a hardware perspective.
But this would be one of those things where, like, I apologize for the design, but I can do so many cool things with it.
But that's the thing.
I wouldn't have to apologize for the one.
But if you just had to say, if it was just the hardware was like a little bit cheap. But it was a well designed, because I think design wise it's fine.
No, I disagree with you. I think this thing is ugly as hell.
Yeah, I don't think it's ugly. I don't think it's ugly. I think the S3.
I
think if that back were aluminum and this band were real metal.
I think it was totally different.
Or if the back was like made of whatever.
The screen makes it look like it's
here, this
matte,
hard, composite.
Right, but this is Samsung's life.
But what I'm saying is
this is where they live.
But I'm just saying, if the hardware, everything was the same hardware wise, but the software were killer.
Yeah.
You'd be like, this is a serious, I got to really think about how much I like the hardware here because this is a great device. because there are a lot of really cool, interesting features, and it's fast and it's capable, and the camera is very good, and the screen looks amazing. But combined with like the shitty looking software and the crappy hardware, I mean, technically speaking, the hardware is fine. I mean, the camera's good, the screen is good, it's fast.
Camera's great, actually.
Right. But it's cheaply kind of made. It feels kind of cheaply made. You know, that combined with the software, to me, it's like in comparison to the One, which is the exact opposite in every way. There's no competition there.
Right.
You know, for me, and I think that for an educated consumer, if you go into a store and you're looking at these two phones, here's the deal: they're basically the same phone. I mean, they're both really fast Android phones with, I believe, the same size screen, same resolution.
No, a little bit.
This
smaller.
is 4.7.
Yeah, this is.
I think this will be.
So I think
size
this
screen
is
is that?
right at 5.
4.5.
It's like 495.
This is smaller than that?
Yeah.
No, that's not possible. Give me that.
Yeah, I think it is. I think they.
Is that
I think it's
right?
4.7. I think they hit the target of the.
I'm sure
S3
people are tweeting.
Oh
this to
yeah,
me right now.
yeah. You know why? Because you're right.
because they were trying to do
No,
it.
I don't know. Yeah,
do an
it's
S3.
slight. It's a slight difference. I should know this
So,
offhand. But hold on. My point is that I think that the One is just a superior device, and you know, really the kind of phone where you look at the iPhone and
It's
now
a 5. It's like 495.
and by the way, they did bite a little bit of the iPhone with the edges on the One.
Well, I showed this to Becky. Becky has a white iPhone 5.
Yeah.
And I showed it to her, and I was like, I really love the first. And she's like, yeah, this is gross. And then I showed her the One, and she's like, this is super hot. I was like,
Yeah.
you don't think it looks like your iPhone? She's like, I don't think it looks anything like my iPhone.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I
what's
mean,
more,
I see like there's like an aesthetic sort of.
the chamfered edge is well, that's what it is.
I haven't heard the word chamfer in a while. It always makes me smile.
This chamfered edge we've spent
That I've invented.
we spent years trying to perfect. Anyhow,
It looks like it's in the same genre.
it's in the
Yeah.
same zone, but like this is the
But
first.
it's
This
own
is
thing.
truly. I say this is truly. I think maybe the only phone on the market right now that I can put next to an iPhone and say.
Well-
and by the way, I've had a bunch of people pick this up and say, "Ooh, what's
Everyone
this?"
loves it, yeah.
Yeah, people like random people are like, "What's that?"
so-
and it's the first. It's really the first I can say that's on the market right now that either can go head to head with or in some ways best.
So here's the question.
And
And
I really want the black one. HTC needs to release it now.
well, here's the question.
Yeah.
And
and you can buy an unlocked LTE version of this,
Which
with no
is a big deal.
with no carrier crap on it for $575,
which
I
is
think
a
is worth,
huge deal.
worth every penny. In my
So,
opinion.
but here's the question.
Yeah.
And this is the question.
yeah,
So I think the tech press
Yeah.
agrees that HTC is
Even Walt-
in terms of
even Walt
creating
said it.
something.
Even Walt called it
has
out.
bested Samsung in terms
Yes.
of this product.
yes.
Is that going to save Are they going to actually sell them?
Mm.
Is it
so
going to
this-
say? Because
this is-
this is like the save the company phone.
Samsung is spending, and I believe the number is literally in the billions.
Yeah.
on marketing.
I think this
and,
is-
and I just don't know that HTC can compete.
Yeah.
I just don't know that they can compete with that marketing.
I think this is going to be
Yeah.
a really great test because I have stood by.
I mean, a test of how irrelevant we all are. In,
Well,
in the face
pretty
of
much,
I have,
right?
I have stood by a thesis for a long time that great products sell and bad ones don't, and middling ones can do okay, and it's whatever, and that can be more based on marketing. But if you want to have a huge success, you need an absolutely great product, and I think an absolutely great product with even a tiny bit of marketing can do super well.
You think that an absolutely great product, even with a 1% of the marketing budget of the mediocre or of the okay product.
I think people give too much credit to marketing for the success of things, and
I think Samsung.
I would love
I
that
think Samsung
opinion
has-
of mine to be validated.
Well,
I really would
think
love
that,
it.
I think what's unfortunate for you is that their market presence and the power and money they can put into marketing is the sole reason they have been as successful.
But
as they've
the S3 was the best Android phone on the market for a while.
I think.
Well-
Hold on. I think that it was the best Android phone that was available to everybody on every carrier.
Unless you're
At
gonna
least
be a
let's talk about
nerd
here in
and
the
track
US.
down the Nexus 4 or
The
something.
Galaxy S3 was an okay phone. It had flaws.
I'm not
think
saying it's
the
a perfect phone, but I think it was
think-
the best Android phone.
I think
I think when you walked into the Verizon store, right, the Galaxy S3 was sitting there with a gigantic screen next to the iPhone, and you picked one.
yeah.
And HTC's phone at the time was like the Droid DNA, which was
Yeah.
like much bigger,
Right.
looked crappier.
Well, that's in Verizon.
Right.
But I'm saying at the Verizon store,
Yeah,
right?
what was it, and what was the HTC phone at the AT&T? It was like the
The One X
HTC
Plus, which came out later,
Yeah, the
which was
One.
like like
The One was a good phone. It didn't have.
Well,
what this
also, so
has.
now I was just reading that there's some supply constraints on the S4, and that might be delayed.
That sounds like incredible BS to me. So that Sprint and T-Mobile are going to be later with the S4.
Okay.
Yeah, but Sprint and T-Mobile.
Who
Sprint, yeah.
cares?
Yeah,
But-
I mean, I'm
and-
not saying that it doesn't matter, but AT&T and Verizon here in America are the big show.
They're the dominant.
They're
yeah.
the big show.
But is the HTC One shipping at the same time?
I mean, the one should
By
be
the way, it's
shipping
really
now.
confusing
The
for
one's
there to
out.
be.
on a bunch of
The one's
carriers,
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know their shipping schedule. I
like-
know that the unlocked one is right now is.
I think I saw somebody in my coffee shop using one. Then
It's possible. It's delayed. I know that the unlocked one is delayed. AT&T, I believe, is selling them at the moment.
I don't know. I would so love to be proved right because it's always bugged me. Like this has been an age old thing where people would like deride Apple products. Like, well, they're not any good. They're just like they've got so much marketing and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But there's an element of truth to that too, right? I mean, like that's what people said about the iPod, right? And Apple spent billions of dollars marketing the iPod.
I will prove them wrong.
to
didn't they?
create and it's still
Yeah,
dominant.
but it was also
Like,
the best thing.
It was.
Well, you getting a creative Rio?
no.
It was the best thing, but it also had marketing. This is like, can you do
Right.
it with a thing that's pretty good and has an amazing amount of
right.
marketing?
Right.
And I think the answer is yes. I think that Samsung just blew every other phone maker out of the water with their last year of marketing. I mean, including Apple.
Right.
I think
Sure.
that Samsung ran the most effective, most interesting set of campaigns of any phone maker.
But they also
maybe
had a phone that was more desirable than the iPhone 5 because it's clear everybody just wants absurdly large screens.
Well, not just that, but people know the iPhone. They're like, okay, I know the iPhone. What's next?
Right.
You know, the consumer is very fickle, right? So there's a certain consumer that's like, I just want like a newer thing. And so,
I mean, just the idea of a dock that the first icon is S
But
memo.
Samsung also smartly appealed to consumers who they drew a line, and actually, in some ways, I would say Apple helped them draw this line
With the lawsuit.
with the lawsuit,
Sure.
which I think really, if we step back and look at it, was actually kind of the beginning of Apple's real modern trouble. And I know that it was initiated by Jobs, but I think that lawsuit, which was really to prove a point more than anything, because the result was that it did not damage Samsung's ability to sell product in America
Right.
or anywhere else, really drew this line where people were like, Apple's the big bully who sues
Right.
guys.
They're Microsoft
And
now.
Samsung's the cool young guy who's like fighting, big mean Apple. And Samsung played into that with their ads. And Apple kind of like by cheering their victory. And by the way, I'm not saying they were wrong to do it. I'm just saying that from a market perspective, I think that it hurt them more than it helped them.
Honestly, I don't think either side has learned anything.
No.
Because
But this is- but there's-
I keep poking around. I'm like, are you guys going to settle? There's another lawsuit coming up,
Yeah.
right? Because Apple filed the second one against the Nexus One and all these other phones.
Yeah.
And
That's
I was
such a
like,
sideshow.
I was like, are you guys going to settle this? And I keep asking, and the line I keep getting is basically, no, there's no movement. We're just waiting.
I mean, I really feel like that's
So
a
we're going to go
sideshow.
through another trial. I hope everybody's ready.
I think that's a mistake for everybody involved, but nobody ever listens to me.
Yeah, I said it the day that they went to trials. Like they're going to settle this because
do we have other topics? We have other topics.
We
don't
do. There's actually another huge topic.
No.
May 21st, new Xbox to be announced by Microsoft.
Which we've been at pains to not call it the Xbox 720 because we know we have a pretty good feeling that it is not going to be called the Xbox 720.
Yeah.
But
the
everybody,
code name, by the
when
way,
people
is
are searching
Durango.
for it,
Durango.
people are
Durango.
like, I've gotten emails from people. They're like, you don't have any Xbox 720 stuff on your site. I'm like, yeah, it's because we're not calling it the Xbox 720, and you're searching for it and not finding that
What
stuff.
do we call it? The new Xbox?
The next Xbox or the new
Next
Xbox, and there's been
Yeah.
rumors that it's going to be
Next
called
box.
Yeah, the next box.
Yeah.
There was we were trying to come up with a headline for. Tom did a piece today because it's kind of like everything we know about it so far, and we were struggling to figure out a way like, do we call it 720?
I got
Do
it.
we not?
I got it.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! No, that doesn't.
I want to hear what you were going to say anyway. I want to hear what you were going to say anyway.
I was.
Go.
Oh man,
I was
this
going to
has to be
say
terrible.
Well, because Xbox 720, right?
yeah.
How about just Xbox 7? And I was like, oh, that's great. It lines up with Windows 7 and Windows Phone 7.
You know what? You've been off the internet for
Yeah,
a year.
yeah. Seriously, 8 came out in the time that you were
I
off the
heard.
internet.
I heard. So that
Anyhow,
doesn't work.
But yeah, Microsoft basically said we're doing it May 21st. We're going to show you our new Xbox.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. It's clearly Sony knew that they were. I feel like Sony knew this was coming and wanted to beat them to the punch with the 4,
Yeah.
with the PlayStation 4, which is why they didn't even have a physical console to show.
God.
And which I still find very unusual.
But lots of consoles have been launched without the physical console to show. That's not a new
it's
concept.
like they show you something
Yeah.
The
Also,
PS4
I don't think I've
launch,
been on
they
this-
literally didn't show us anything.
Anyhow,
I don't
but-
think I've been able to discuss the PlayStation 3 on this podcast
the
yet.
3 or the 4?
The 4.
You mean Windows 7?
Oh,
the
boy.
PlayStation
Windows
3
7,
running
the
Windows
PlayStation.
7?
I've been watching so many
You truly are-
Blu-rays.
you truly
I'm
are
watching all these
stuck in last
Blu-rays
year.
on my PlayStation 3.
Yeah. The PlayStation 4 we haven't probably talked about too much, but
Yeah.
I think we did.
Well, I am
So
actually
excited.
really bullish on it.
Why?
It's a PC. They built the PC.
Yeah. They built the PC.
Yeah, oh, right. You're excited because it's like it's PC. They've gone
Well,
to
because
global
the most
architecture.
exciting, most fun thing that I've had in gaming recently is basically Twitch TV. Is people
well, you
streaming?
haven't- not recently.
Well, not for a year, but in recent years,
That's so crazy.
is people streaming games and sharing their experiences in different ways, and
You know they have a share button.
I know that's why I'm excited about the PlayStation 4.
Gaming's finally about to get social.
Yes,
Oh my
and
God.
you know what? Like I really
Gaming's
think
getting
it's,
social again.
Maybe
I
this
think
is why I
it's-
play fewer games than ever.
I hate social games. I love playing by myself.
also basically also this console
I'm
generation.
the worst kid on the playground.
This console generation
I will take my ball and go
is,
home.
is
Thank
totally
you very much.
this console generation is totally playing into Valve's hands basically
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're going to be a PC, but they'll be a little more open and it will be awesome for
Valve
them.
could be big.
But I'm
Well, so
very
here's the
excited
thing.
about
So
the
new
PlayStation 4.
Xbox, by the way.
New Xbox.
very
I'm sorry.
very
I'm sorry.
PC-ish as well, right?
Well, what we know about it.
What do we know
it's-
about it?
I can
What
read
do-
you
what do we
Tom's
know about
wonderful
it,
work
Eli?
here.
What about the hardware and specs?
Well, it's got an AMD x86 CPU. It's obviously got,
X86, finally.
yeah, right. So very PC based as well. Combines obviously the graphics chips because it's AMD, so the GPU and the CPU are on the
I'm a
same
little.
die.
Can I just say I'm a little?
It's the same chip that Sony's using, which is crazy.
No
Can I just say
way.
something?
Which graphics
Should I be-
or processor?
Should I be a little bit?
Same. It's the same all-in-one.
Oh,
APU.
it's the same board.
Should
Oh
I
my
be a little bit?
gosh.
Should I be a little bit bummed that we're just getting like gaming PCs? Like I could build this right now, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Right. It's got a Blu-ray drive. It's got a hard drive. It's got
I mean,
8 gigs of RAM.
I actually have been. I had Evan Rogers put together a list for me because I want to build a gaming PC.
Right.
And he put together a pretty good list, and I have to say, like, I'm planning on doing this in the near future. But I am a little bummed, I guess. The one thing about like the PS3 was, Sony was like, we've got
a
this
supercomputer.
It's so
we got
bizarre
this
and
crazy
weird.
new architecture that
the
you
Army's going to
can't-
put 1,000 of them
Well,
in the
I
basement.
think the whole
right.
reason this is happening is exactly because of what happened with the PlayStation 3, where basically the Xbox 360 is more successful. So you design your game targeting the Xbox 360, and then you port it to the PlayStation 3. So it typically looks a little worse unless you do some extra
It's
work
gotten
on it.
better. That's evened out, I think.
Yeah, no, and now it's like pretty even.
Yeah.
But I think that
I mean, a decade later, it's evened
yeah,
out.
the thing that sucks though is but is also why consoles I think will still be pretty successful is by having such a specific hardware target, and this is awesome that it's the exact same.
Yeah.
Is that developers will be able to really just hone and hone and hone. And
God,
like
I love it when developers hone.
man, those developers can hone. But like,
Oh, God, there's nothing like a honing
how
developer.
the graphics on like the most recent console games
Yeah.
are about as good as some of the best graphics on the PC, and no matter how powerful your computer is. Other
Right.
than the frame rate and resolution and some extra little effects you can get on the PC, the basic concept of the graphics is all constrained by the consoles, and the consoles have gotten so much better. And I think having this single hardware target,
Yeah.
always knowing what you're going for, the graphics are going to get really great.
let me get into some other stuff here because
Okay.
that's great. But then it's going to have the Kinect 2. It's going to have a new operating system, obviously, that is more focused on entertainment. And then the big piece, the huge controversial, got a Microsoft employee fired piece.
For saying or
It's-
for
well,
thinking?
for-
that's a speculative, but it seems like it may
definitely
have got,
seems like
seems
it.
like it may have.
It's going to be
contributed to.
It's going to be always on with permanent DRM, so always connect to the internet, always
wow.
running DRM in the background.
Man,
Well,
I
Big
have,
Brother-
I
Big
have
Brother's
played
back.
so much Xbox 360 this year, and that would not have worked.
Right. Microsoft Creative
Yes.
Director Adam Morse
For you.
spoke out on Twitter. Sorry, I don't get the drama over having it always on console, he said, before adding a hashtag deal with it. Microsoft issued a statement
Wait, did they fire
apologizing.
that guy?
They apologized
Okay.
for him, and Orth immediately left the microphone.
Even if it
hold on,
wasn't spilling the beans,
I'm
the
sorry.
hashtag
I'm sorry.
deal with it.
How does that work? I mean, I guess at this point it's kind of hard to imagine an Xbox experience without the internet.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine
I'm
turning
always
mine
into
on
live.
and not be online.
I can
Right.
imagine.
I mean, I know you can imagine it, but it's just so unusual.
It is
It's like your computer without the internet.
Right.
So I kind of get it. I mean, when they say always on, that just means it needs a connection.
I thought.
Well, so I think
thought
that
Microsoft.
the big, and maybe this is just the games community being crazy.
Mm.
The big piece is that Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo have always hated used game sales.
Yeah.
So it's
you
like
later,
step
GameStop.
1 is you're always on. Step 2 is you have to activate your game with a code when you like EA games.
Yeah.
To use the
Right.
EA
It
service,
is
you have
annoying
to
that-
buy an activation code if you buy a used game.
Right.
And then the last step is you're just going to do all the games online. You're going to kill the used game market.
It is annoying
Do you
that
think they'll do streaming gaming?
I mean, Sony's leaning into it. I can't imagine Microsoft isn't looking at that stuff.
I've got to say, I'm gonna say it, and
Yeah.
you
You
can't
got
stop
to-
me.
you got
the
this.
idea of being able to say, I want to play. What's a game that they previewed at the PlayStation 4 event? Can you think of one?
probably a Batman
Forza.
game where you kill things.
I know it's probably set in a.
They were all games where you kill things.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
There's a new Killzone.
Yeah, Killzone.
Yeah.
New Killzone, which I've never played any Killzones, by the way.
But you can start playing it
but the
streaming
idea
while it's
that-
downloading in the
the
background,
idea that
right?
you can be like, I'm going to buy the new Killzone
So
and play
sexy.
it, and then you're like 5 minutes later, you're actually playing the game.
Yeah.
You're not downloading a multi-gig
You're gonna be
file and
so
waiting for
cool.
it. That to me is
You're so
kind of a mind blowing. It's like the funny thing about on live and these streamings, like Gaikai.
Right.
When you first heard about them, when we've been talking about them, that you assume a particular type of use, which is I'm going to get their service as a separate thing, and
Yeah.
I'm going to stream games on the Gaikai controller or whatever.
Right.
And you kind of thought of it as its own thing. But when
Right.
you think about it applied to the ecosystem of the PlayStation or the Xbox,
makes so much more sense.
It's a crazy, amazing new
Yeah.
idea, and I'm so excited, and
Yeah.
I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it.
I'm not. I'm so excited. I'm so scared.
With this DRM
No,
stuff,
I took you to the Saved by the Bell place. That's what I did.
With the
right then.
With the DRM stuff, it's annoying right now that you get these codes and you have to enter. So at least it'll be nice. Like if this is what we're, it's a lesser of two evils. If this is where we're going with the industry, at least it sounds like Microsoft will deal with all those
They'll
activations.
hashtag deal with it.
They'll hashtag deal with it
Yeah.
for all your activation codes. So that's
I mean,
nice. That's nice. But
It
like,
just there's been so much. I mean, and I think this speaks to fundamentally what we've been talking about. Like, I don't think you can sell a computer anymore and be like, the internet plugs into it. I don't think you can sell a game console and be like, the internet plugs into it.
Right.
I don't think you can sell a phone and be like, you can open the App Store if you want, but also.
Right.
You know, like I think ultimately the services have to be integrated into the entire experience.
no, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
And
It's-
both companies are going there
it's
real
just-
fast.
And it speaks even more to the need for readily available broadband, consistent broadband, non-throttled
yeah,
or lightly throttled.
lightly.
Lightly throttled broadband.
So I just 10 minutes. I just
We got to.
Someone just said 10
somebody said 10 minutes.
I'm not
left.
just, like,
He's not just
losing
like
it.
losing. Yeah.
Paul's going crazy.
I
10 minutes left.
I just got internet back in my apartment.
What?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not supposed to be back on the internet.
I'm not on the internet.
How do you know it works then?
Well, I don't. I mean, the guy told me
They're like,
it
it
works.
seems to be working. You catch it
Well, I will
later.
tell you, believing in
His,
Time
his,
Warner
like,
installation.
his
guy.
Android phone
If
that
you
he
follow the cable in your wall, and you follow it, it's just hanging out of the wall like a cable
his
plug.
Android
got the
phone kept
internet.
on making these like noises and stuff. But anyways, like, so I shopped around, which I've done so many times in my life.
Yeah, we've all been there. Would you
The
use the phone
only-
book?
The only things I can get are like I can get was it
Time Warner.
or Leap Wireless or Clear? What is it? Clear. I can get Clear. I can get Verizon DSL, which is still as slow as it's always been. It's like 1.5. I don't know. It's so slow. And I can get Time Warner.
Did you get DOCSIS?
I can get DOCSIS. I went with like the 15 down,
You're a fool.
1 up.
You're a fool, and I
But
hate you.
it's just like it's so annoying because it's like
You should have got DOCSIS.
for like it's probably
It's $100 a month.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be like
Yeah.
for me compared to my plan, it'd be like $50 or $60 more than
I'd
I'm
love
paying.
to. I have DOCSIS, and I think it's great. I'd love
I'm
to know what
saving
it's
a
like if it
ton of
works all the
money
time.
by being really slow on the internet.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I can tolerate it.
I'm happy to hear that. Good thing you'll be in the office every day.
I also got a phone, which I can't really use yet either
Oh,
because
you got?
it's-
Did you get triple play?
I got double play.
Oh, okay.
What? Oh, you got a landline phone.
Yeah,
Do you add cable?
but it's VoIP. No, I don't watch cable.
Okay.
But you're that cable. The next great.
Yeah, the
Palmetto
next
journey.
Paul adventure.
No, I've got
the next Paul venture.
I've got an antenna. I get really great CBS.
What else is on our list of topics, Neil?
We're actually done. Actually, John, can you tell me? Do we have the video? So while we're on the subject of Paul coming back, Paul, we've prepared for you a bit of a contest because I have no idea what you're going to do when you come back on the internet. And I think
I can think of a few things.
Actually, the way this contest is going in the early running, I will tell you,
Where's
our readers
Paul?
had the
Guys-
same thought.
Guys, Paul got back on the internet and he went home last night.
So
And we haven't
Paul's
been able to
gonna
get a hold of him.
Paul's going to come back online Wednesday at midnight, between Tuesday and Wednesday at midnight, right?
Right,
May 1st.
The evening of Tuesday, and then it'll
Into
become
the-
11:59 p.m.
into
on
the-
Tuesday, and then it'll be 12 a.m. on Wednesday.
So we have to figure out what you should look at for this
Right.
transpired on the internet.
Right.
So you have produced a call to action for our readers to
yeah, I'm looking for
to help you out
recommendations.
with hashtag what should
Tips.
Paul see. So let's run this video.
Hashtag what should Paul see? Here we go.
The digital world moves so fast. But not for me. I'm Paul Miller, and I left the internet for a whole year. But I'm coming back now on May 1st. It's going to be a multimedia extravaganza. I want to know what you think is the best thing that I missed on the internet this year. I got a hashtag. You can upload a YouTube video. You can tweet. You can Vine. You can Instagram. There's so many possibilities on the internet. Let's rediscover them all together.
Yeah, I couldn't
And then
help
I,
but notice.
and
Was
then
that
I
recently? Was
puked
that,
all over the
was that
sidewalk at Times
Did you
Square.
really?
No.
Was that recently filmed?
Yeah, today. Nice.
I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, that's how Paul spends his mornings. So you have no idea what Vine is.
I know what Vine is.
Sure
I've
you
helped
do.
my roommate create some Vines.
Interesting.
You
Yeah,
weren't behind the camera though, were you?
No, we were making like stop motions.
I like it.
What did you make?
Well, we did one where it's like a skull of coins and then it starts crying coins. And then another one of this guy.
Did you hear that sound? That non-committal.
This
grunt?
guy he sticks his tongue out and then like his tongue like swallows him or something.
Let's
like
talk.
This sounds like every stop
let's
motion
take-
video.
while we
that.
have
I know
let's- while
exactly.
you have
They
a
look
few
exactly
moments-
like stop motion.
Do we have any?
videos.
Are there any topics we need to cover? Or maybe our live listeners would like to offer some subjects that we can cover.
There's actually one other big thing we should talk
What
about.
is it?
Before we wrap this
What
up.
is it?
Amazon doing set-top boxes.
I'm not interested in
Boring.
Really?
that. I don't know. Who cares?
I think it's like fascinating.
I got Amazon all over everything.
What, it's
Yeah.
going to be like $5 cheaper.
I literally
than the
watch
Roku.
Amazon streaming on my TV, smart TV.
Yeah, it's just weird that they thought.
I remember
they
a
had to do
day.
this.
Why not?
I remember a time when you couldn't stream.
Have you watched any of the new Prime shows?
Let me tell you something.
They're
I
terrible.
have watched a few moments of each,
They're awful.
and
They're
I
like-
wasn't happy with what I saw.
I mean, it was like literally like, oh, man, that House of Cards is like pretty good.
House of Cards,
We
I've
should-
been watching, by the way.
Spectacular.
I've just gotten into episode 6 or 7, and boy, it's pretty good.
It's really good.
And it is a show.
Yeah.
It is a television.
And you
Are
get
there
thrown into
any,
Amazon's
dream
like, oh, we could do
sequences?
that. We could.
There are not dream.
I think I would watch House of
haven't
Cards
seen
if
any-
I
There's flashbacks.
if I
haven't
could be
s-
assured that it gets bizarre at some point.
there are. Don't ruin it for me. I've only.
I just don't think I could tolerate that much straightforward drama.
Oh, I think when you get into the seat and buckle up.
Wait, are there flashbacks?
I don't think there are.
Now I'm having a flashback to.
I want a
flashbacks.
unicorn dream sequence.
There's a scene where you at the end of the show you figure out that Kevin Spacey is a
a replica.
replicant. He has
Makes sense.
And Robin Wright is like, too bad she won't live.
Yeah.
Then again, who does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they show a car driving.
It's all of the endings. There's one episode that's just all of the endings to Blade Runner.
And Harrison Ford was like, some folks call him a skin job.
Wow.
That's like some of his narration.
A lot of people haven't heard the narration.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard
I
it.
think the narration is better. I like it.
You're a complete weirdo.
I think the narration's cool.
Just
and I
to
think-
give the viewer some context into, we once had a thread.
Whoa.
We wanted to have a movie night for the staff. You were off the internet. I'll show this to you.
Yeah.
We once had a movie night. We wanted to have we were going to show Blade Runner.
Yes.
And instead of having a movie night, what we had was a week-long email thread
bet.
where everyone argued about which version we should watch.
Which one won?
None of them won. We all lost.
Whoever
lost.
wins, we lose.
Yeah,
I-
I
you
mean,
know
it
what?
just
Who won?
literally
You know
tapered
who
off
won?
into like everyone was
I-
kind of frustrated and mad.
I watched-
and then we didn't order pizza and watch a movie.
I have watched 3 different versions of Blade Runner and
Yeah.
read the book this year. So
Wow.
I guess I won.
Guess. I guess
in
Paul's
whatever
had a- I guess
whatever
Paul-
way that is winning.
I guess Paul's had a
Yes,
lot of time.
You
on
are
his
the
hands.
victor.
Congratulations. Well, anyhow, we'll all be coming to a close because you'll be back on the internet and back hard at work.
Yeah. Just email threads.
Oh yeah, you got so many.
You're going to be
crazy
managing. You'll be
email
managing our
threads.
movie night email threads.
Yeah.
We should do it. We haven't done a movie night at the new office yet.
No, we should.
We should do one.
We gotta pick a movie.
All right, I think we should wrap up. I think
It's
we're pretty
time.
close. And nobody tweeted at me about possible. I had my computer and everything out here. Nobody tweeted me about possible topics we should have brought up. Here you are. Here's your last chance. You get 1 minute. You have 1 minute to tweet a topic to me that we will have a quick conversation about. I'm watching now. I want to see it happen in real time. So people who are listening to this as a recording, this will be disorienting, but do not tweet at me. It'll be disorienting for both of us if you tweet at me about a topic.
If you tweet at a
Nothing here.
podcast
Oh,
after
here
the
we go.
podcast airs, it's like seeing
I'm getting
yourself.
some stuff too.
No, nothing.
It's like,
Somebody
you know,
said
when-
OCal is not a thing.
It's like when
It's
you
true.
meet your time traveling
Oh, the
self.
Q10. Q10. We have
Yeah.
our review's coming.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, our review is coming, and it's retailing for $249. I have nothing to say about it except that I am.
9 out of 10.
Here's the thing that I now do with keyboards on phones. I go like, yes, a keyboard. Oh my god, finally, I want to get a keyboard. I want to use it. It's going to be so great. And then it turns out I'm way slower and less
Your
precise.
thumbs get all sore.
I'm way slower and less precise with a physical keyboard than I am with a virtual
Stern
keyboard.
is in love with that keyboard.
The
She's a weirdo.
virtual keyboard has won. Somebody asked. Hold on. Did you see Oblivion? I've not seen Oblivion.
Yeah.
Is
I've
that
heard
out
it's
now?
okay.
We have a review.
Not
Brian
that
thought it
great.
was
We have a
okay.
review. We actually did a review. Somebody said, "Where do you buy your suits?" I actually,
Yeah, of course, this is your answer.
I mean-
go ahead, tell him.
the most of the ones you see me in are handmade.
Yep.
But it's because I'm very tall and I have a very awkward shape. Also, I love luxurious handmade suits. Please argue more about Blade Runner. We're not doing that. Hold on.
Are they handmade in
Google I/O
America?
speculation. We got to wrap it up.
we
though.
gotta wrap.
We got to wrap it up. Unfortunately, oh my God. Somebody just said WebOS. That's great. We'll do this next time with more time. Anyhow, that's our show for the week. If
Yeah.
you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at vergecast@theverge.com. You can leave a comment in the post when it goes up. You can start a forum thread in our forums. Or you can find us on Twitter. The Verge is at Verge. I'm Joshua Topolsky. Nilay is Reckless. Paul is Future Paul, and now is a good time to start using it because he will be back on the internet very soon, and he will be able to respond to your many, 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 many thousands of tweets. That's our show. We'll be back next week with more Vergecasty goodness.
Well, no, next week at 11 o'clock, we're starting the
11
Vergecast.
p.m.
Oh,
on
apparently we're
Tuesday.
doing. Oh, that's right. We're doing that.
Yeah, it's happening.
Okay. Well, apparently we're doing a midnight Vergecast
Yeah.
for Paul's return to the internet. And I'm really looking forward to
It's
that.
okay, Josh. You don't have to come if you don't want to.
No, I'll be here.
No,
of
it's
course.
it's all totally.
No, I'll just slide in one of my handmade suits. And so anyhow, it May the evening of May 1st.
The April 29th.
April 29th
April
into
Or
May
April,
1st.
I'm sorry, April 30th.
April 30th. Yeah, what is April 29th?
I don't know. Some
April
other day.
30th into May 1st.
Yep.
We'll be bringing Paul back onto the internet live in the studio. And that's it for us. And
Top Shelf is next.
Top Shelf is next. And as always, I wish you and your family all the best for what will be a very hard and upsetting weekend.
Rock and roll.